Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of 30 NSG. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about Starfield could be in trouble as players' numbers plummet. So even with the commercial and critical success, Bethesda's long-awaited sci-fi RPG is falling off quicker than its predecessors. I don't even know what that means. We're in a completely different realm, but anyway, let's read the article, shall we? The months leading up to Starfield and its launch were an event. Whether you were a fan of Bethesda Game Studios titles or following the industry, Bethesda's first new IP in over 20 years, a massive sci-fi space RPG with over 1,000 planets, and the latest directional effort into mind behind the Elder Scrolls V, Skyrim, and Fallout 4. All this more pervaded a conversation around Starfield. It's the first Bethesda Game Studio title to launch on day one for Game Pass, opening it up for a much larger audience than before. However, being an Xbox Series XS exclusive, it was also viewed as the big deal for Microsoft, who struggled over the past few years to deliver a high-profile exclusives. Despite impressions from the fans and critics were positive, many others are praised on the title exploration of shipbuilding and space combat, scale, atmosphere, and improved visuals. Now, sure, there were some shortcomings with the combat and excessive loading screens, but the sense of Bethesda's wonder is seamlessly intact. Even accounting for a variety of tasting of title earns an 86 Metascore on PC among 78 critic reviews, and 83 Metascore on Xbox Series XS based on 90 reviews, both respectable. Now, cut to nearly 3 months later, Starfield's discussion, for entirely different reasons, has gone from a very positive rating on Steam to mostly positive and now mixed out of 76,611 user reviews. 69% of the positive, and from the most recent reviews, only 51%. On Metacritic, Starfield user scores are currently at 7.0 on Xbox Series XS based out of 11,000 ratings, and the PC user score is even more worrying at 5.6 from 6,715 rating. Those who played Cyberpunk 2077 at launch will no doubt remember something similar. It started fairly positive before the user reviews slowly plummeted. Of course, just as CD Projekt Red's opus at the time, there was a belief that the ratings were ultimately irrelevant. After all, the players' counts were strong, and the game was doing something right for a large subsection of its audience, right? Now, Starfield peaked at 330,723 concurrent players on Steam on August 31st. Pretty good compared to previous Bethesda titles of Skyrim that peaked at 287 for 411 when it first launched. And especially, it's also available on Game Pass. However, that's when early access started. Now, the concurrent player count gradually declined ever since, and its now 24-hour peak was 22,152 players, right below the Elder Scrolls V Special Edition 23,098 players. First of all, I don't understand why they're comparing other Bethesda games to this Bethesda game. Now, obviously, there's been a lot to Elder Scrolls game, okay, 5, with mods and different support. So comparing something that's 12 years old to the brand new game and saying, well, this one's over the... But there's a huge... Anyway, I'll continue. I won't put my thoughts in just yet. Okay. Yes, the later is technical 7 years old. However, considering how many have shifted from the base Skyrim released about 12 years ago, and Starfield is struggling to beat the predecessors and concerning. Now, at least doing a better than Fallout 4, which had 24-hour peak of 15,000, though its all-time peak is 472,000. This is above the beyond the spacefaring RPG. Now, while concurrent player numbers on Xbox aren't available, a quick peek in the most played games on console sees Starfield in the 15th position. It's also ahead of Halo Infinite. Remember that the latter reputation took also a beating through the years for many reasons that has slowly been repaired, I should say, thanks to numerous updates and new content. Maybe it's because there's newer games. Maybe it's certainly factors of Starfield as a single-player title, also competing against various free-to-play live service multiplayer games. However, Baldur's Gate 3 launched a month before the PC and is still the 5th most played game on Steam with 24-hour peak of 125,585 players. Now, Cyberpunk 2077 also made a major new update and paid expansion, Phantom Liberty, but it's also in September. It's sitting at 23rd in the most played games on the chart on Steam with a 24-hour peak of 36,000. Starfield currently at 43rd place behind games like Elden Ring, Valheim, Stardew Valley, and Terraria. Okay. What's going on? Are players going to Skyrim because they're tired of Starfield? Are they looking forward to the palate cleanser? Maybe just approaching other games to take a break. That's one way to look at it. Or you could argue that Skyrim and even Fallout 4 have more mods, which also help broaden the experience and provide new features. However, looking back at the first years for the base version of Skyrim and Fallout 4, their drops in concurrent players are nowhere near as drastic as Starfield over the past 3 months. Among the several players Even the most diehard who have hundreds of hours in the game, their strong sentiment for Starfield doesn't offer the same Bethesda magic of exploration. That feeling of picking a direction and traveling forth, discovering all kinds of wonders, whether it's a side quest or random events, a dungeon, or something unique, it's simply missing. Starfield's exploration is more segmented and alternates between handcrafted content and major cities, like New Atlantis, Neon, and randomly generated content on other planets. Some find this faction quest story companions don't match up with previous Bethesda Studios efforts, never mind contemporary games. Meanwhile, the randomly generated content begins to overstate its welcome once you see the same outposts and events on different planets, regardless of the circumstances. This isn't a discredit all the cool things you can do, like building spaceships, engaging in massive fleet battles, or roaming around the surface of the planets, gazing upon nearby stars. However, other carriers of their substantial weight, significant numbers of players, and Starfield isn't delivering those departments. The article says, to clarify, this doesn't mean Starfield is a failure. It crossed 11 million players as of October 25th, as it holds the record for most numbers of Game Pass subscriptions in a single day. Nearly half of the hours played on PC, so why is the current position on the Steam charts looks dismal? Well, its place is the Xbox charts looks somewhat better, even if it isn't at the top 10. While Microsoft and Bethesda haven't shared sales numbers, it was the 7th best-selling game of the year in the United States as of October 18th, and there's a sizable team working on the game long-term, with director Todd Howard confirming 250 developers. They've done a good job thus far listening to the feedback, implementing features, and has also present launch of NVIDIA DLSS, supports brightness, contrast, and settings, and much more. Mod support is also coming next year and could heavily expand the availability experience of the gameplay features. The developer also committed to DLC. One-story expansion, Shattered Space, is already confirmed, and Howard promises a lot of post-launch DLC of varying sizes. No ETA on those, unfortunately. He says the problem lies in the future. Even Bethesda releases lots of DLC, it needs to do more bolster in the core of giving current players a reason to keep coming back. It may also sound like new content is the answer, but seeing the titles like Destiny 2, a live service game with seasons and events, it's not a recipe for success. An initial DLC for Starfield is incredible, and the sales future releases could be affected. Besides, all the long-term support of free updates requires resources. Mods may seem like the answer, but Skyrim and Fallout 4 aren't played this day just because of that. It's because they offer fans Bethesda titles that want environmental design, exploration, and content. Okay? Starfield's future very much depends on Bethesda's plans for the same, and it could also have the same shattering features in mid of next year to bolster players' numbers. So let me give you my thoughts on this article. Okay, but before I do that, please make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And if you'd like to go above and beyond that, you can hit the membership button for a little as $5. All right, so look, this article is pretty heavy on the against Starfield type of thing. One, Starfield is a single-player game. You could take any single-player game, come back 3 months from now. Okay, now obviously this article won't be written because you cannot see the numbers of PlayStation single-player games. Okay, you can see which the article is written on, which is the Steam numbers for Starfield. Now, obviously, if you're taking a chunk of that and putting it over there, sure, you can see the Steam numbers. But there's also another whole section of people that are playing the game over on Xbox. Now, people don't want to believe that it's successful, and they're also like, well, it's over, it's done. This is not a multiplayer game. It's comparing to games that have multiplayer. Halo Infinite, okay? It's also comparing to games that are 12 years old, sure, but Bethesda is like a comfy old pair of shoes, right? When you have a pair of shoes that you like, you're always going to go back to those games like Fallout 4, Fallout 3, Skyrim, because those games are fantastic. And it's 100% the reason the mods. I want to do a stat. How many people are playing Skyrim on Steam that have mods included? Okay? Because in the article it says it's not the reason people go back and play it. I guarantee you that's 100% the reason. There's some sort of mod installed to let them continue playing visually if it adds something to the game, and this is the reason they go back and play those games. Now, Starfield, sure, I said this before the game even launched. I said 1,000 planets is kind of ridiculous, okay? Especially in a single-player game. You're going to get bored and monotonous, and you're going to be like, I'm kind of done. Hence why I've had a video and talked about this in the past, that I think they're going to do some sort of Fallout first servers to play with your friends, or they're going to do some sort of multiplayer down the road where you can also play, where you can build things, okay? But those are my thoughts, okay? To say that Starfield is in trouble for the player numbers plummet, Xbox doesn't care. Microsoft doesn't care. Do you know why? Because to say that Starfield, you paid for the game. You bought the game. If you're on Steam, you paid full price for the game. They have your money. If you buy it or played it on Game Pass, you did what you were supposed to do. You have Game Pass, you played the game, you tried the game. If you didn't like it, you stopped playing the game. But yet it's another game that's just sitting on Game Pass for people to play, that if the game is not successful now, it's still going to be there 10 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, 36 months, 10 years from now, it's going to be on Game Pass, okay, as long as Game Pass is around. So to say that these player numbers is plummeted and it's a problem, and it's a single-player game. And the only reason this is critical is because there's numbers on Steam. If there was no numbers on Steam and they couldn't see the numbers on Xbox, there would be no article written. It's stupid. It's really stupid because all single-player games numbers diminish from what they were from day one. These are facts, okay? So, to me, Starfield is fine. Microsoft is fine. And Game Pass is fine. This game is just yet another game that's on Game Pass. Just like when Phil Spencer said Halo will not make or break, and right now it's the biggest it's ever been right now, Halo Infinite, okay? Battlefield 2042 is at the pinnacle of its height since launch, before launch. It's higher numbers now than it was before launch. Well, that's because they fixed the game. As Starfield stays out, as they add more DLC, as they add more mod support and different stores and different things, you're going to watch the number go up. And people are going to be like, I can't believe people are still playing Starfield. This game is dead. But that's just the way life is. These are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. Please make sure you share, like, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.